Is solo traveling really safe? Let's talk about it. Hi guys, welcome to another video. My name is Oiza Okana. If you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. I would love for you to be part of the family. So today we're going to be talking about my solo travel experience and if it's really safe to travel as a female solo traveler. I know the number one question everyone asks when you go on a solo trip is if it's really safe, because I myself had that question before I went on my solo trip. So let's talk about how my experience was, how I prepared myself, and things I would do differently if I were to do it all over again. Okay, so before I jump into what I did to prepare for this solo trip, I will say that one thing to note, safety is an issue wherever you go. So it really just comes down to how you prepare, where you're going to, and a bit of luck. Because let's be honest, when it comes to safety, sometimes it's just right place, wrong time. So there's that. So for this particular trip, I had to mentally prepare myself to actually leave the country as a solo traveler for the first time. And what I did is I did a solo staycation over a long weekend just so I can mentally prepare myself to be by myself, to really get to know what are my non-negotiables when I'm leaving my house or leaving my comfort zone. What are some of the things that make me uncomfortable? What are some of the things that make me comfortable when I leave my comfort zone? So that's what I did. That was the first thing that I did to mentally prepare myself for a solo trip out of the country. So because I did that, that experience really opened the doors for me to feel a little bit more confident in leaving like my comfort zone and my environments that I'm used to. So now let's talk about what I did to prepare. So for starters, I had a budget that I was working with. Let's start there. I had a budget I was working with. I knew I wanted to travel. There are certain destinations that are safe for solo travelers, certain destinations that are not safe for solo travelers. So Google was my best friend. TikTok was my best friend. Just doing my research, making sure that the country that I was going to was safe for a solo traveler. I personally knew I could not do an Airbnb and it had to be a resort. So the second step for me was making sure that the resort I stayed at was solo travel friendly. And the resort I stayed at was solo traveler friendly. Matter of fact, when I booked my trip, I specifically searched under the solo traveler tab on Air Transat and a bunch of resorts came up. I then dug a little deeper into all the resorts that popped up. And the resorts I chose, Le Poisson Costa Bavaro, was the one that really resonated well with me in terms of what I was looking for. I was looking for good food options. I was looking for aesthetics, obviously. I was looking for adults friendly, solo traveling friendly. I was also looking for quiet, but also had some sort of like nighttime activities. So that really fits the description for what I was looking for, and it was solo travel friendly. So that is what led me to book my stay at Le Poisson Costa Bavaro. After I picked out the resort I knew I wanted to stay at, I had to think about safety. Of course, that is the most important thing. Even though the resort had very great reviews on safety, it was solo travel friendly, I still felt the need to make sure I prepared myself adequately to make sure that I was safe and I felt safe. So the additional preparation I did was I bought an additional lock just to make sure, there was no funny business when it comes to the rooms or the room locks or anything like that. It's also something that I saw on TikTok. TikTok was literally my search engine. So I'm going to put the lock that I bought from Amazon. Do I recommend it? It's good to have on hand in case you do need to use it, but I felt safe enough at the resorts that I did not actually use this lock. Now, the other thing that I did was communication, just making sure that I was connected at all times because I knew I wasn't going to roam in another country and risk that additional charge. So I used an app called Airlo. And I've seen other solo travelers use this app called Airlo. And what it essentially is a virtual SIM card. Instead of buying a physical SIM, it's an eSIM, and it allows travelers to load data plan onto the eSIM so you can stay connected if you're out of your country. So this is what I used. I used Airlo. So I made sure I understood the app before even leaving the country, and I made sure I had enough data plan loaded on the app before leaving the country, and made sure that it was compatible with my phone, because with Airlo you have to make sure that your phone is compatible with it. Another thing that I did to prepare myself was, of course, I let my loved ones know that I was going. Of course, I let my loved ones know that I was going on a solo trip, and I also shared my location with them at all times. The location was always turned on with my loved ones. That is very important. I also made sure I sent pictures regularly to keep them in the loop of what I'm doing, where I'm at, who I spoke to, who I met. So yeah, those little things helped along the way. And also when I left the resort, it was also really handy for me to stay connected and also still be able to send pictures, and they were still able to see my location. So those things really, so all that really came in handy overall. So these are some of the things that I did to prepare myself safety wise for my first solo trip. So what was my experience like? Honestly, I had the best experience. I feel like solo traveling really helps you connect with yourself. It really helps you listen to that inner voice. And one thing that I know for sure it helped me do was to trust my own gut, because there was no one there making decisions for me. I had to make the decisions myself. So it really helped trust your guts. It was also a new environment. You also got the flexibility to use your time the way you want to use your time. So overall, 10 over 10 experience. Honestly, I am on the solo travel bandwagon. I think it's something everyone should experience at least once in their life. When it came to safety, I never once felt unsafe. Even when I left the resort, I still felt relatively comfortable because of the group that I was part of. And it was also an activity that I booked with the resort. So I'm sure if anything happened, they would have been responsible for it. So safety wise, it was good. Another thing would be alcohol intake. If you're the type to take alcohol when you go on vacation, I mean, who doesn't? I would say just make sure that you minimize it and know your limits. If you do want to drink, and have like a tipsy night or drunk night, make sure you know where your room is, and you're able to have a little bit of control over yourself and have control over your environment as well. If you are drinking at the bar, make sure you're always keeping an eye on the drink and how they're pouring it. Things like that you want to be sort of like careful on, and making sure that you're still, what's the word, you're still conscious enough to know what's going on in your environment. Yeah. Now, what would I do differently if I was to do it all over again? So the first thing I would do differently, as I stated in my vlog, was take a power bank, because I don't know why I didn't think about taking a power bank, but I should have taken a power bank with me when I was going on my solo trip. Another thing that I would have done differently is taking something that reminds me of home. Yes, something that reminds me of home, something that reminds me of my space. So that can be like a candle, a scent, my favorite fragrance, my favorite sleepwear, my push toy if that's your thing. Just something that reminds you of home. Because there was a night where I did feel homesick. I'm not going to lie, I did feel homesick. I just felt like I wanted to be in my bed. I wanted to be in my familiar environment. So guess what I did? I asked ChatGPT, and ChatGPT advised that next time that you're going on a solo trip, it's advisable to take something that reminds you of home, which is something that I wish I did, because at that time, if I had, let's say, my favorite fragrance or my favorite night robe, then maybe I wouldn't have felt so homesick. So yeah, those are some of the things I would have done differently. Now that I've talked about how I prepared, what my experience was like, and things I would do differently if I were to do it all over again, let me tell you some of the things that I did, that I loved, that I'm going to do again. Number one, I created a playlist. Yes, a playlist, a music playlist. Like I created a playlist for myself. Now, each time I listen to that playlist or a song from that playlist comes on, instantly it just takes me back to the memory of me being in that space, in that environment. It just takes me back to my solo travel experience. It just takes me back to that solo experience. And and it's the best feeling ever. Like I think it's just something that's going to stick with me forever, and I love that. I absolutely love it. The other thing that I did that I absolutely love and I would definitely be doing again is using the Airlo app. That's saved me in so many instances. It definitely saved me because I felt like I was connected all the time, especially like when I landed and I was going through immigration. So that's definitely something I will be doing again. The other thing that I would definitely be doing again is getting an airport transfer, especially because I was solo. For some people, this is a luxury, but for me, it was about convenience and it was about my safety. Okay, so I will definitely be doing that again, getting an airport transfer. And I don't even think it's only for a solo travel. For a solo traveler, I mean, if you're in a group, it's fine. You can take an Uber, take a cab, take the local cab, whatever. But if I'm a solo traveler, I am definitely getting an airport transfer to the resort or to the hotel and back to the airports. So that's definitely something I'm doing again. That's it. So that's everything about my solo travel experience. Let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Again, subscribe. I would love for you to be part of the family. Yeah, I'll see you on my next video. Bye.